The African sun stood high in the sky, merciless and blinding, pouring fire onto the vast savanna. Heat shimmered above the cracked ground, rising in waves that bent the air into mirages. Acacia trees stood scattered like lonely sentinels, their thorny branches clawing at the sky, yet offering little shade. The wind was dry and hot, carrying with it the smell of dust, old bones, and parched earth. Every creature seemed to retreat into silence. The plains, normally alive with movement, lay subdued beneath the weight of the midday blaze. From the brittle shrubs, a small shadow wavered into view. It was not a gazelle or jackal, nor a predator on the prowl. It was an elephant calf, barely 4 months old. The calf was frail, pitifully so. Its gray skin, loose and wrinkled, sagged around a frame far too thin for its kind. Dust clung to its body, painting it pale while its short, stumpy trunk moved clumsily, as though it did not know its own purpose. Its oversized ears drooped heavily at its sides. Every step the calf took was unsteady, and the sun revealed the outline of ribs pressing against its skin. It was alone, too young to be without a herd, too weak to have wandered far. Something must have happened. Perhaps its mother had fallen to poachers, or the herd had been driven away by drought. Whatever the reason, the calf had been left behind in a world where the weak are swallowed by silence. Yet this small orphan did something no one could have predicted. It staggered into the clearing, legs trembling, and halted in the open. With a wavering effort, the calf reared up onto its 2 hind legs. Its tiny body wobbled dangerously as though the weight of its own skull might topple it. Still, it held itself upright. Slowly, clumsily, the calf raised its trunk and pressed it against its chest, as though folding hands in prayer. Its eyes, wide and glistening, turned toward the massive shadow looming before it, a rhinoceros. The giant stood motionless at first. Its immense body was armored in folds of thick, cracked skin, each crease etched by the dust of countless seasons. A long horn jutted forward, stained with earth, shaped like a blade carved for war. The rhino's breathing was heavy, like the rumble of distant thunder. With each snort, it pawed the ground, sending up bursts of dust. The earth seemed to tremble beneath its bulk. Any creature smaller than even predators were met with suspicion, often violence. A lion pride would think twice before harassing such a beast. And here before it stood not a threat but a fragile orphan, trembling yet unyielding. The calf did not flee. Its body quaked with exhaustion, but its trunk remained pressed tight against its chest. Its round eyes shimmered with desperation. The rhino lowered its head, horn-angled, and growled a low, vibrating sound as though the earth itself had spoken. It scraped at the ground with its hoof. Dust swirled, rage gathered like a storm, but then something shifted. The rhino's ears flicked. In the vulnerable, prayer-like gesture of the calf, something pierced through instinct. The giant stared at the trembling child, at the way it looked up with wet eyes, not as an enemy, but as a supplicant. Slowly, the tension in its shoulders eased. Its heavy breaths softened. The calf whimpered, a thin, broken cry. Then it turned clumsily and staggered forward, pausing after a few steps to glance back. Its eyes begged, "Follow me." The rhino hesitated, stamping once more as if fighting its own nature. And then, with ponderous steps, it moved. The giant followed the orphan. They crossed a dry clearing, the dust swirling around their feet. Vultures circled high above, black specks against the white blaze of the sky. The air was heavy with silence until another sound reached them, a faint, pitiful whimper. In the shallow gully ahead lay a zebra foal. Its striped body was trapped beneath a tangle of heavy branches. A great log pinned its hind leg cruelly into the mud. The foal struggled weakly, its chest heaving, each gasp ragged and desperate. Blood darkened the soil around its leg, and its wide eyes were glassy with terror. The elephant calf rushed forward at once, despite its weakness. It pressed its trunk against the zebra's neck, stroking gently, letting out soft mewling cries as though to soothe it. Then it turned, lifting its trunk toward the rhino in a gesture of plea. The rhino snorted, lowered its head, and charged. The ground shook beneath its thunderous weight. Dust exploded as its horn rammed against the first log. Wood cracked and splintered. Again it struck, again and again, each blow fueled with the might of a creature born to survive. At last, with a booming crack, The thickest branch snapped, rolling aside with a thunderous crash. The zebra cried out as its leg came free, collapsing onto the mud. Blood seeped, and its body trembled too violently to rise. The elephant calf pressed itself against the foal's side, licking at the wound, quivering with helpless devotion. The rhino stood over them both, ears twitching, eyes fierce. Overhead, vultures began to descend lower, wings slicing the hot air. The rhino bellowed, a roar like breaking stone, scattering them back to the sky. But the danger was not yet gone. Shadows moved on the horizon, a pair of hyenas drawn by the smell of blood. Their laughter echoed across the plain. The rhino stamped, horn lowered, daring them to approach. The hyenas stopped short, whining in frustration, circling but never daring to close the distance. For now, the giant stood as fortress. Then came new sounds, human voices. Two rangers sprinted across the plain, rifles slung at their sides, dust swirling with every step. They slowed abruptly as the scene unfolded before their eyes. A baby elephant huddled beside an injured zebra, guarded by a rhinoceros. The younger ranger instinctively reached for his rifle. "Should we?" he whispered. The older ranger raised a hand sharply. "No, look." Through it all, the elephant calf stayed pressed close to the foal, refusing to move. The rhino loomed just beyond, its heavy breaths rattling the air, but its presence was no longer a threat. It had become a shield. At last the foal was lifted onto a stretcher. The calf cried out, stumbling after them. But the rhino stepped forward one final time and gently nudged the elephant with its horn, pushing it back. The message was clear. Let them take him. He will live. The calf's cries softened into a whimper. Tears welled in its eyes as the stretcher disappeared into the distance. Silence returned to the clearing. The rhino turned its head and pressed its horn lightly against the calf's side. The orphan leaned into the touch. So they stood together beneath the dying light of Dea, protector and a child. Two unlikely allies bound by a plea that had changed everything. That evening, the zebra foal rested at the rescue station, its leg bandaged, its breath steady. The rangers whispered of what they had witnessed, still struggling to believe their eyes. And out on the savannah, beneath the orange glow of sunset, the little elephant stood beside the rhino, dwarfed by its size, yet safe within its shadow. That day, predator and prey, giant and child, had proven a single truth. Strength is not measured by the power to destroy. The true strength is the choice to protect.